Hey guys, in this video we are going to discuss loops in C language. We'll see what these loops in C language are, why we need them, and what are the various kinds and types of loops which we have to use in C language. We'll discuss one of them and then the rest we'll discuss in the next videos. So let's begin. So a lot of times while writing some programs, we find ourselves in situations where we need to iterate something over and over again unless our condition is satisfied or unless we achieve our objectives. This involves repetition of the same portion of the code over and over and over unless some condition is satisfied or a specific number of times. Let's say 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, we repeat some part of the code over and over. It may or may not be a specific number of times. This repetition can take as long as some condition is either satisfied, or if it's not satisfied, then the loop keeps on going until it is. So there are three ways to implement loops in C. These are the while loops, the for loop, and of course do while loop. So in this video we are going to discuss the while loop particularly. So let's have a look at the while loop. As you can see, this is the syntax of the while loop in C language. So what we do is, first we initialize the loop counter, which is usually an integer. Then we write the keyword while followed by braces, and within those braces we write some condition which determines till when the loop will keep running. And then we have these braces here, and within these braces we have the statements which we need to execute. So here we have these statements which we need to execute, and whatever is inside the body of the loop, once it is executed, we give an increment to this loop counter. Usually the loop counter can be at 0 or 1 or whatever is for the coder to decide, and then it is given an increment, and then the condition is tested again depending on the loop counter. If the condition is satisfied, the loop stops and we come out of the loop and the control is shifted forward. Otherwise, if the condition is not satisfied, then whatever is inside the body of the loop keeps on running over and over. So let's try to understand this using an example. This will make it clear to us why sometimes we need these loops, and loops are something which we are going to need a lot of times while programming. So consider we have this array, as you can see here, and let's say this array has how many elements? So let's say this array has 0, 1, 2. Let me do the indexing. Let's say it has 8 elements from index 0 to 7, and we have some integers stored in this array. Let's say 11, 33, 24, 45, 2, 5, 6, 7. So now we have an array with the capacity of 8 integers, and we have integers. Now we need to find the sum of this array. How will we execute this program? So first of all, we'll initialize an integer named sum. Let's initialize this to 0, and then we will run a loop. Let's assume this is the loop, and every time this loop runs, whatever is present in one of these boxes gets added to this sum. So let's say the counter, we have a counter which is also initialized to 0. So for 0, what's the index? 0. 11 gets added to this sum. Now we have 11 here. Then after execution, we add 1 to this, so this becomes 1. And now at 1, we have 33. This 33 gets added here to sum. So now we have 11 plus 33. Then again, when these statements are executed, the counter gets another increment, and this is 2 now, let's say. And whatever is present at 2 now will get added to this sum, 11 plus 33 plus 24. And it keeps on going. We keep adding something to this, plus 1. This gets 3 plus 1 and 4. And all these elements, one by one, get added to this sum. All of them. And when this counter finally reaches 7, which is our condition, let's say inside this loop, the condition is that counter is 7, less than or equal to 7. And when this gets added, the condition is satisfied and we come out of the loop. But by the time we are out of the loop, all these elements 24, 45, 2, 5, 6 and 7, all of these are added into this sum. So this is just one instance where we needed a loop, which is to add the elements of the array. Let's write the code for this thing and then we'll end this video. Alright guys, so here we have this program which implements the sum of an array. So as you can see, we have the standard library file here. Then we have the main function. Within the main function, we simply print the message for the user to enter the number of elements that the array should contain. Then we initialize an integer named n, which stores the number of elements the array shall contain. So we create this array and everything, and ignore this part from here. This is based on the for loop, which we haven't discussed yet, so ignore this. So what this basically does is it takes each element from index 0 to index n-1 from the user, and therefore we have this array rectangle, we have this array in which we have these elements. So anyway, here you can see we have a while loop. So if you pay attention, this is the same syntax which we just saw here. So in which we have the loop counter initialization, the while keyword, the condition, then the statements and the increment. So if we pay attention here, so here this int sum 0, this is the variable which will contain the sum. This int j equals to 0 is the loop counter initialization. After that we have the while keyword here, and after the while keyword we have this condition. So as long as this counter is less than the capacity of the array, which is n, which we took from the user, this loop will run. So what is inside the loop? Sum equals sum plus array j. So this is the the sum variable gets assigned the value it already contains and the value of the array at jth index, which the array stores. So after that we give an increment to this j thing, and it keeps on increasing, and the loop keeps running until this j is less than n. So when it becomes equal to n, which in our case we'll decide this when we run the program, this loop will stop and the sum of the array here, this will be printed out. So let's run this thing and check it. So here we have the program. Let's compile it, and here it goes. So it says enter the number of elements the array shall contain. So let's say it should contain 5 elements. It says enter the 0 element. So 0 element is the element at the 0th index. Let's enter 1, 2, 3 simply 1. Then it says enter the 1 element. So this is coming from the for loop, which we will discuss later. So let's keep on entering elements, 3rd element, 4th elements, and the final 5th element. After that, as soon as I enter 5, the while loop comes into action and it calculates the sum of these elements which I entered. And after that, it simply says the sum of the elements of this array is 15. So where did this come from? As soon as I enter the last element, this while loop here, it came into action, and our sum was calculated, and the loop stopped, we came out of it, and then the sum was printed. So this was it. So we have seen what loops are. Now we know how to implement the while loop, and in the next video we'll see the for loop. So this is it for today. I hope you found this video useful. If you found it useful, leave a like, otherwise leave a dislike. Thank you.